We'll talk about the Bengals fight night, the wide receiver market becoming more clear, and the Falcons matchup coming up next on the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do you
fan.
balance being a professional athlete and family obligation?
Need your top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time,
Yeah.
Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati Podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
What's up, world? How are we doing? Fresh off the 4th of July spectacular. Fireworks and bombs blowing off all over the place. I am not going to lie to y'all people. I put on a hell of a show last night in my area, so I'm a little tired. I went to sleep really, really late. A true fireworks specialist such as myself must make sure you clean up afterwards. That's part of the gig. And I feel like we did a lot of stuff and blew up a lot of things, and it got really crazy. But at the end of the day, I came back to work and I made it through. And here we are tonight at Wincinnati, ready to get it on. How's it going?
Yeah, man. It's been pretty good. I hope everybody enjoyed their 4th. I was on that grill yesterday. I was definitely getting it popping on the grill. The family was able to get some good eats in yesterday for sure. And like Zim said, there was a lot of fireworks and things of that nature. But we're also going to talk about the Bengals fight night out. There was some stuff going on social media. They attended a UFC fight, so we'll talk about that. Also, Deontay Johnson, the Steelers aren't going to give him $20 million a year. We're going to talk about receiver deals and how that affects T. Higgins. And then we'll also start to talk about the schedule breakdown with the Falcons, what some of their strengths and weaknesses are. So we'll get into that. But let's get into our first topic, Zim. The Bengals, they were in a fight night at UFC. Joe Burrow, Chidobe, and Jessie Bates. I'm going to put it like this. I think Joe is making a statement with all of the support of Jessie Bates, right? Like, I think that he's made it clear from the get-go he wants Jessie Bates to be here. Then he goes onto a national stage with not only Cheeto, but Jessie Bates as well. This was kind of that referenced Vegas trip that he kind of talked about. And he made it very clear that he's in Jessie Bates' corner and that he supports him. I think that was the message here. Outside of obviously the UFC thing, the fight night and all of that, I think it made it clear whose corner that Joe Burrow is in. And I think it's clear that it's Jessie Bates, and he wants Jessie Bates to be here. How that affects his deal, I'm not sure. But for me, like we talked about, some people are saying, is it that Joe Burrow is trying to get him to take the deal that he already has? Or is it that he's trying to support him? I actually think that it's that he's supporting Jessie and just making it known that Jessie is one of the guys that he wants there. What are your thoughts on this UFC fight appearance with Cheeto, with Jessie, and Joe?
I feel like it's a bigger picture thing for me than anything where it has nothing to do with like a contract situation for like Joe. I was messaging somebody this online because like 3 or 4 people asked me, it was like, oh, that means Jessie Bates coming back. And I was like, I just think that we're like, it's part of the reason why me and you started this pod is like, I was tired of like the dry sarcasm with, I'm not even going to name like other sites that are always wishing the worst to happen. So now Wincinnati is just part of like this culture thing where you're going to win. And that doesn't mean that you're going to win with just the Bengals. Like, regardless, bro, like you with me, we're going to look like money. We're going to drip out here at this fight. Joe is clearly teamed up with the UFC, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to have my guys there. And I don't really think it has anything to do with football. I don't think it's a ploy. I think he's smart enough to understand that Jessie Bates is in a situation. But I'm one of them people that just think so much, I think, outside of the box in this realm. I don't think they brought up the contract not once. I think he really was like, bro, I'm going to the fight. I know you like UFC. Are you coming with me? I don't think they brought it up once, and I don't think Awuzie did either. And I think it's the statement is this, is if you're with us or you're with Joe Burrow or whatever, we're going to make sure you're straight. You're in good positions to win, whether it's with the Bengals or not. I just feel like it's Wincinnati. Like, I don't know.
Nah. Let's bring that back up real quick, Ryan. Let's get a drip check going for some of this drip that we have out here. And if you guys are not subscribed to the Wincinnati Podcast on YouTube and you're not able to see these dope visuals, you're definitely missing out. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that alerts button. Zim, I need a drip check. Which of these guys is the drippiest out of these three that we have up here? We've got Joe Burrow with kind of that Kango hat on. We've got Jessie representing with the white shades. We got our boy Chidobe with the, I believe that's the Ferrari shirt on. Right. Like what are we giving Joe on this drip check right here?
Now I'm really big on Amiri right now as a brand. It's a very popular brand that a lot of people know. I think that's a Amiri shirt that Bates has on or whatever, but it's super trendy to me. I think even the frames too are a little bit too Hollywood for me. I think the Cheeto Ferrari shirt is a statement piece in itself. Then he's got the Nigeria chain with it. That chain is crazy. And just the pairing of that with the shades, I think is just super, super lit. I think Joe lately been wearing bucket hats a lot too. The dark frames inside is crazy because I couldn't do it. I would walk into people and trip up and fall down the stairs. So I think if you're cool enough to wear dark shades inside and not fall, that is drip. So I think drip, to me, drip a lot of times is who's the most comfortable. And I feel like Cheeto and Joe are like clearly more comfortable. I feel like Jessie came out there and was like, I'm on my Suge Knight stuff tonight or something like that. Like, I just feel like he's on a different wave or something that night.
I'm going to give it to Jessie just off of the pants. The white pants is crazy right now, especially for the people from Jamaica. You already know what time it is when they put those white pants on.
I thought you was going to say it's crazy because there's drinks all around you in white pants.
You gotta
night's over. I go home. If I spill a drink on my white pants, I'm going home. I don't care if we at the fight or not.
The pants matching with the glasses. I might have to give it to Jessie on this one with the drip. But moving on, let's talk about some of the guaranteed money for receivers, especially with these deals coming up. It's come up that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not willing to give Deontay Johnson $20 million a year. They feel like that may be a little too high. What does that mean? I think it really comes down to guaranteed money. Like, we can talk about averages and stuff like that, right? But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the guaranteed money. That's why there's a big difference between a Cooper Kupp contract and a Christian Kirk contract, which honestly kicked this whole thing off, right? People were like, how the hell is Christian Kirk getting all of this money? And that's because a lot of people are looking at it from an average salary standpoint and not a guaranteed money standpoint. Like, you can give Christian Kirk $40 million a year, but if only $37 million of it is guaranteed, that's the real average, in my opinion, of that contract. So when you look at these numbers, and for those looking from home or listening on the road, you got Cooper Kupp at 75. You got Allen Robinson at $30 million. If we're talking that from the top to the bottom, Zem, what are your thoughts on like what that means for T. Higgins, and what do you think he gets from a guaranteed or average salary standpoint?
I think the market has been set so many different times this all season, and the bigger thing that I think a lot of people have been holding on to is the contract guarantees. I just don't think that the Bengals are going to have a problem with the guarantees of this for a 23-year-old wide receiver. It's almost like taking a guy on his rookie deal. For them first 4 years, it's just conventional wisdom. Like, that's their contract. That's who you're going to be with. I don't think the guarantees bother me at all. It is super, super high. But if it's 40-something million, which I think he would be right in that DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin range. If it's between 41 and 54, that's the part where I think T might get a little friendly. His annual per might be higher, but I think that's the part where he gets kind of friendly and just says, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I can help out the team in that regard. But on an annual per, salary basis, I think that he's going to be right around that A.J. Brown rate way. And I think that's okay. The thing that happens is that it's key that it's not in the same all season as Jamar Chase. So that's really key. I just think that him and Joe Burrow are just going to get a huge signing bonus, a whole bunch of money up front, and on an annual basis or whatever, we're going to see them right around that $20-something million range that Mike Williams and DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin are at. The guarantees don't really bother me because of the youth. Because in the worst case scenario, say the dude gets hurt or something like that, you're still getting the prime years of these guys, the next 3-4 years of all these guys in that same tenure or whatever getting paid. And in 2 years from now, 20-something million is going to look like peanuts after Jamar gets his contract. Then you're going to, and then when y'all see the Justin Jefferson numbers and stuff, it's going to blow your mind. So like that's the aggressive pattern and the aggressive nature of why the Bengals have to attack this contract right after the season. I would do the same thing with Logan Wilson as well too. Right after the season, go right at him.
Yeah, I think you were in the spaces and I was listening, and the funny thing that came up is everybody always argues like, is T top 15? But it seemed like everybody was in accordance that he is a number one caliber receiver. I think someone even pulled up the stats showing that T has actually drawn the number one corner several times. So I think for me, I agree with you. I think it's somewhere in that ballpark of 40 to 54 million is where he gets that guaranteed money in.
Don't you think it's weird that check this out. Why are the same people that argue that he's not a top 15 wide receiver? This blows my mind. The same people that don't think that he's a top 15 wide receiver are the same people that say T. Higgins, y'all can't afford him. You got to pay him the same money as DJ Moore and start naming top 10, top 15 wide receivers. Go into his spaces. It's the craziest. Like, they do the same thing with Bates right now. They'd be like, yeah, he's top 5 and all this other stuff or whatever. And then when you bring up Bates and compare him to other safeties, they'd be like, oh, nah, I mean, he's not whatever. Then when his contract comes back up, they're like, you better pay him. Like, it's like they just only want to see the detriment of the Bengals and see the fall of the Bengals.
It's crazy.
That is the craziest conversation.
It's crazy. Those Twitter spaces are explosive, but talking about explosive, Drew Chrisman, his family owns a fireworks store. Is that something that we have to be worried about, a JPP situation going on, or do we think that he's officially entered his I guess hand in here for replacing Kevin Huber as the special team specialist and the punter and the holder and stuff like that? Because I've heard a lot of Bengals fans, like last year, once they picked him up, rumbling that he was going to be the guy that could come in and possibly take Huber's spot. Do you think that that's a possibility this season?
I do. I think it all comes down to holding, though. As crazy as it sounds, I think from a analytics standpoint, you'll see that Huber took a step back last season. He's still like a top 18 punter by most metrics or whatever, right? Is 18 between 15 and 18, right? But I think the key is holding for him, like holding for McPherson. If Chrisman can come in and hold correctly and make sure that all those snaps are on point, then I think the transition will be smooth. I don't think you're going to have like a punting competition or something like that. I think a lot of that stuff is going to end up, like in the same realm. And even if Huber outperformed him, I think you take the youth of Drew Chrisman in a punting aspect over Huber.
Yeah, I think for me, don't get it twisted. Huber's a friend of the show. Came on and did our Midwest Barbecue live show last season. But I would be not being real if I didn't say a lot of people felt like he's taken a few steps back from a punting perspective. I wouldn't mind seeing what Chrisman offers from a punting standpoint. I mean, I'm not a punt guy or a punt expert or anything like that. But at one point in the draft, the Bengals were really looking at punter, right? So that means that they felt, and maybe even some of the fans felt, that they could upgrade from that category. And they ended up bringing Huber back. We'll have to see how that works out. But I do think that it is a possible threat that Kevin Huber could have played his last season with the Bengals after the Super Bowl. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But again, if you guys are watching this video, please be sure to leave us comments. Make sure that you hit the like button and things of that nature. That helps grow the channel. We appreciate you guys supporting the Wincinnati brand, as well as supporting some of the other pods on the channel, Bengals posts and things of that nature. But Zim, we have I believe a message from one of our friends of the show.
Yeah, I want to talk to everybody about their smile. If you need a dentist, join Pierce Dental Group in Cincinnati, where confidence starts here. Downtown in Fountain Square, you can 100% just walk up, set up your appointment, call, whatever. Follow Pierce Dental Group on all social media platforms and different things like that. You can also go to their website as well. when you go there, you can also get a free consultation. You don't have to be in the Cincinnati or the Ohio area. If you're traveling there and you know that you're coming there often, or you just need to get some work, or just to clean up on the weekend of a Bengals game, or whatever, you can get a free consultation and set up your appointment. Get yourself right. I got my free consultation. Me and Dr. Pierce are working on some stuff for my smile as we speak. So please make sure you contact those people, because they're good people and they do excellent work. If you enjoy the Bengals smiles, such as Joey B, T. Higgins, a lot of different guys that you see brand new smiles, I would encourage you to go to the same dentist.
Facts. So if you got that missing side tooth, get it taken care of. Let's get into the next item on our docket, which is the Falcons preview. We take them on at the midway point, kind of the midway point, week 6, Atlanta Falcons. Some of the strengths for me, I think it kind of starts with the guy that you wanted last year out of the running back position, Cordero Patterson. He was a dude that really just found a great role for himself at the running back position. He was a huge threat, ended up canceling out Mike Davis there, took that lead role. I think that he's one of the guys that we have to be on the lookout for. And then I like what they did in the draft at the receiver position, them taking Drake London. I thought that was one of the shocks for me of the draft. So Drake London. However, I think it also goes with Kyle Pitts. You already know how I felt about Kyle Pitts last year. Ended up coming into the season. He might have been, I don't know if there's ever been a rookie receiver or a rookie tight end to have 1,000 yards, but Kyle Pitts was able to do that his rookie season. And then there's a lot of question marks for me. But Zim, are there any other strengths for this team of the Atlanta Falcons that you see that maybe I may have missed?
I like the cornerback. I like AJ Terrell. I think that he's one of the up and coming corners in the league. I think Desmond Ridder is another person that keep your eye on too. If you get like I was telling you pre-show, if Desmond Ridder has qualities much like Russell Wilson, and I watched Russell Wilson a lot when he was at NC State. We were there around the same time, so. There are things that I do like about his game, but one thing about him, I think that they need to find out what they have from him as soon as possible, so that they're not stuck with the same conundrum or the same situation that they're in the following year. So that's another thing that I think that Desmond Ridder can be what you want from a system, quarterback, and at the same time, he's got a little bit of wheels to him too to improvise and make some plays as well too. So I do like that. Aside from that, though, I just think that they're in a mini rebuild. I think the quarterbacks that are coming up in the upcoming draft are really, really good or better than the last draft class. But, I think right now everybody's in the Will Anderson sweepstakes, and I think Falcons are like up there. And, if you guys don't know, that's the kid from Alabama or whatever. But Falcons are up there. So if you are just solely a Bengals fan, when we were tanking for Tour, now a lot of people are tanking for Will Anderson. So that's something to keep your eye on. But they do have some pieces though that that I think that they can work off of. Drake London, I think, is really raw as a route runner, but he has the athleticism. There's different plays where you can catch him, like having jump ball, one-handed stuff. I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off off of Kyle Pitts. But we got to wait and see if they can just protect and just keep the quarterback kind of clean. I totally just looked over Mariota, but if they can keep the quarterback clean, then at the very, I think that was some of the stuff that I wanted to see, like year one Joe Burrow. Is like, can they keep him clean just to let him get through this whole season? And they didn't. But what you can do is improve the quarterback psyche, make sure that moving forward that you got a lot more things to play for, or you have a lot of things that you could build off of. But the Bengals are absolutely going to rip them to shreds. Sorry, it's not going to be a close game at all. Like, that is absolutely, like, that's one of them games we're going to look at and say Joe Burrow and them only played 3 quarters in that game.
Yeah, I 100%. Think if you talk about the weaknesses of the Falcons, I think it really comes down to the depth. Like I talked about Drake London, and we've got Auden Tate there. Brian Edwards, I don't know. You look at the defense there's some talent and some specs there. You got Grady Jarrett, as you talked about, AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward, but like where else is that talent? I mean, you talk about Marlon Davidson, second round pick, but hasn't really done much. Who's going to be another pass rusher for those guys? I'm not so sure on, what that setup is going to be. I believe they're also switching over to the 3-4, right? So they've got Lorenzo Carter and some guys there, maybe Michael Walker, but not anything that's going to make me feel like these guys are stopping the Bengals from scoring points. And then you talk about AJ Terrell. That's a matchup that I want to see, the rematch, right? Like, we could talk about AJ Terrell, but we know what Chase did to him in college. So for me,
I feel like it's not even a fair matchup because I feel like Terrell going to get Chase. He going to get Higgins.
Yeah,
Casey Hayward just going to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even like no mano type thing. Higgins and Chase going to be both going at him.
And Casey Hayward is 32 now. Maybe we get some.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like Casey, they're not leaving Casey on no island.
Maybe Joe Burrow's looking his way because of that Chargers game from a few years ago. So yeah, man, me personally, matchups wise, maybe that's one. I mean, you could talk about Jake Matthews against Trey Hendrickson. What are some other matchups that you are looking forward to seeing with the Bengals against the Falcons?
I want to see Auden Tate. I really do. I just want to see Auden Tate, see if he, I think he'll have some shots. I think he'll do what he always did in the Bengals camp and shine in camp. And then they'll say, you know what, at the very least, we have our number 3, wide receiver or something. I do know. I said that for years. It's like Auden Tate will be a number 3 on a lot of different offenses. So I want to see, does that come to fruition? And I just think that that's the one guy, like, say you got Auden Tate and you're able to move him around, then you get him paired up and you got like a smaller Mike Hilton or something. I'd just be like, throw him up the ball. And then Can he break those tackles? Can he do yards at the catch? Because we know that he's catching it. And I do want to see that. I do want to see that a lot. And I want to see him do really well because I think it will also just show a testament to how Duke Tobin is really good at evaluating talent. And I think his one bad draft that I really didn't like at the time, was a product of Zach coming in and they had to rush through it. Outside of that, I like a lot of his drafts. I've always been a Tobin guy, like for the most part. And when a lot of people were killing him, I thought even we were talking about that earlier, like when we were talking about this in the spaces, it wasn't that Cedric Ogbuehi and Jake Fisher was the wrong move. I mean, they were the wrong guys. They were the wrong guys. The move and the thoughts and the sentiment were there, and those were good things that I think you had to do to like look forward to the future. He just missed on those 2 guys. But I also think that the development of like our offensive linemen, that system in itself is just really, really bad, or it had been bad. So now let's just see how it works out. But those guys didn't pan out because of Jake Fisher's injury. Different things. Some of the criticisms that people have for Tobin, my point is, I think a lot of it was rush decisions, and a lot of it was guys just didn't pan out, or they didn't have like the grit or the desire to play football, but they had the talent. Like they've always had the talent. Like John Ross has the talent.
I don't think it was really Tobin that really had that call. I think it might have actually been Paul Alexander. I think that was one of those situations where Paul Alexander got to handpick some of those guys, and Tobin, kind of had to support that. But yeah, I think that was more so on Paul Alexander, and he was cool. He definitely struck out on those ones for sure. Right. Moving forward, But
my overall point is, I think that Tobin is a great evaluator of talent when in his different instances that you've seen that. And I think Auden Tate is one of his best pieces. And I think they asked him this one time at a presser, what is your favorite pick of all time? I think AJ Green was one of them, but he was like, that was a no-brainer. He said his other one was Auden Tate. To get a guy like that in the 7th round to go and give you 700, almost 800 yards, like with the backup quarterback, that's crazy to me. Like, these guys that we're talking about that are going spaces and argue with every day, these guys that they're running, like they're putting so much faith behind, struggle to get 800 yards. And I'm like, Auden Tate did that. But as Bengals fans, like, we don't even look at this like that's a big deal. Like, that's not a big deal in Bengals world.
He might be one of those like late round flyers for me in fantasy. If I'm in like a 14-team league or something like that, like he might be one person that I take, and people are going to be like, "What? Auden Tate?" But yeah, I agree with you. Like, I'm excited to see him in that role. Glad that he went to a team that doesn't have a definitive number one receiver outside of Kyle Pitts. But yeah,
Big move.
Let's talk about
That was a great move on his part. I just want to say, like, whoever orchestrated that's the perfect place for him to go prove himself. And I think it's going to show up like early too.
Thanks for sure. And the perfect place for you to go and get some barbecue and some chicken wings is our good friends at Midwest Best Barbecue. We'll get into their commercial next, coming up on the Wincinnati Podcast.
They tell me that the Bono wings will make you do the gritty. The Bono wings will make you do the gritty. Bono wings, come and get them Bono wings. Bono wings, who they gonna beat them Bono wings? Bono wings, MB's got you with them Bono wings. Bono wings, they tell me that the Bono wings will make you do the gritty. The Bono wings will make you do the gritty.
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, located in Loveland, Ohio, 669 Justice Court. The great Willie Anderson was just there. Apparently, one of our commenters, Harold Farmer, was just there this past weekend. Yeah, it was definitely there. Diddy said that he didn't film himself hitting the gritty while he had some of those wings, but he said that they were good AF. So yeah, we don't use that language, Diddy, but we all know what AF stands for. So make sure you go and get some Uno wings, some Midwest Best Barbecue. Get you some ice cream too. It's summertime. It's hot outside. They got ice cream too. It's not just wings. It's more than that. But moving forward, some news came out about Trevion Williams. A lot of the NIL stuff has been out there. He's actually going back to school to teach. I believe Texas A&M, I believe, is where he's from. He's going to go back there and teach a class on NIL. I think this is dope because a lot of these athletes, some of them make it, some of them don't make it. Some of them have, issues making the NFL. And sometimes, like, I really think about the kid from Clemson that just came out and had the crazy injury, went undrafted. Like
Justin Ross.
Yes, Justin Ross. I feel like this program really helps those guys out. But here's the other thing of it. A lot of athletes, they're so focused on football and stuff like that. And even people that aren't athletes, they don't know about taxes. They don't know about how to use their money. They don't know about banking and stuff like this. So the fact that Trevion is going back to teach, I'm sure that it'll cover NIL, but hopefully it'll also cover some of those other things because a lot of those guys don't really get that. So the fact that he's going back to teach these guys about how to make these decisions, I think is extremely important, especially with this being in a new era where we're just unfamiliar with all of this stuff. I'm unfamiliar with it because there's certain things that they can do, certain things that they can't do, certain ways to set stuff up. So shout outs to him for going back to teach guys in college the importance of some of this stuff and helping them there in that aspect. What are your thoughts on Trevion going back to teach them about this stuff?
I think it's dope, man. I think all these guys that we're talking about, they're like, whether they were made 100 million, 20 million, whatever. This dude is a millionaire that doesn't have to go back to go teach and give people education and stuff. And I think that's really dope to go back and, that's the best form of teaching is people that have gone through these different things and are able to regurgitate some of the information that they've acquired along the way and pass it on to other people. So I think that's a beautiful thing for someone that doesn't have to do that. Like he makes a lot of money. So, you know what I'm saying? Like that, it's a crazy proposition, I think, to do it.
Yeah, I think that's dope. Like, I hope they like film some of that and kind of send in some clips or at least spotlight him on that so we get to see him in the classroom. But yeah, that's dope. But coming up Thursday, the Battle of Ohio has entered the chat. You can catch the Wincinnati Podcast Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we will be previewing the Browns, the Cleveland Browns. We will probably have a special guest on there. I'm still trying to work that out. Hopefully we can get that on here. If I do get this guest, though, you guys will not want to miss this one. You will not want to miss this one. You see me, Diddy, wink, wink. You will not want to miss this one if we get this one confirmed.
Diddy be saying that all the time. Diddy be saying that. Hey, but look. So look, Diddy in the comments said a guy that I'm trying to tell you on Twitter Spaces. There's some stars over here.
You got to learn how to land that plane, man. You got to learn how to land that plane.
But he's very entertaining though. Like I don't know. Like I think that's part of the entertainment is like that he never lands the plane. It's just a plane that just keeps on flying. But aside from that though, there is another guest that I think that we might be able to have on the show on Thursday as well too. Is a current Bengals player, and we're just working on some stuff right now to make sure that we get the time and stuff right. But that one is on the way. If you've seen any of my drunk tweets this past week, then you will know who that player is.
Okay, and you got I see some other people talking about the other potential guests as well. You guys know who he is, and if you don't know, then you're gonna know. And if you haven't watched that debate that Zim and this gentleman had last year before the season kicked off, you might want to go back and check that out. But thank you guys for listening to the Wincinnati Podcast. Don't forget we're in all stores, the Apple Store, we're in Spotify, we're everywhere. Please be sure to leave us a review. That helps other Bengals fans find our podcast. And Zim, was there something else that you wanted to mention?
One more quick thing. If you aren't following the Wincinnati Pod on Twitter, please do so. I tweet this link out on Instagram, Twitter, or through my account, but make sure you're following the Wincinnati Pod Twitter, right? The reason why is not only do you get great content from this show and other different things, we're also doing a bunch of contests and stuff on a weekly basis now. This past week, we gave away a pair of Joe Burrow's Nike slides. The week before that, we gave away 2 Wincinnati shirts. Now, currently right now, for the next 24, 48 hours or so, there's a contest with our people at Fans of Cincy. All you got to do is retweet the tweet and follow Fans of Cincy and follow Wincinnati Pod. By you doing so, you get entered into this to a pool or whatever. If you win, you get a free tailgate for the major games that we have away this season. And the free tailgate prize includes food, drinks, and a whole bunch of other stuff, live DJ, all these different things like that, which is they probably selling the ticket for like $90 to $100 for this tailgate pass. But if you enter just by RTing, then you can get a free tailgate pass. So even if you don't even want to go, just go in there right now and RT this tweet on the Wincinnati Pod and make sure you follow Fans of Cincy in the process.
And also, if you guys leave us a review on iTunes, I'm going to pick a random review and send you guys the new shirt that I just came out with, the season 2 New Stripe City I just dropped this past weekend. I will pick a lucky reviewer to send that through. So make sure that you guys pay attention. I will be picking one by Spotify. Probably on Thursday's show.
Is it out? Can you leave a review on Spotify? Or
you can leave a review on Spotify as well. You can leave it on both.
So we're going to sweep Apple. We're going to sweep Spotify. Anywhere that you listen to this stream, tell anybody you know if you want to enter multiple ones. Leave a 5-star review, and we're going to just look around and make sure that we pick one of our favorite ones. But leave the review, even if you do it from another account or somebody else. It gives you another chance to win Ace's new design.
For sure. But thank you guys for listening to the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes, sir. Ski.
Yes, sir.
Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Husmanzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Yeah. Shock the world.